Have you ever wondered how individuals build, significant influence and foster these thriving communities in really specialized, fast-paced fields like cybersecurity, all through digital platforms? It's a fascinating challenge, really. And one we're diving deep into today, our mission basically is to take a close look at Alberto Daniel Hill. He's a prominent cybersecurity pro from Montevideo, Uruguay. We're going to unpack his remarkable digital footprint across, well, two key platforms: his huge activity on Twitter, especially Twitter Spaces, and then his Cyber Midnight Club podcast on Spotify. Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to understanding how authentic digital influence is really built. We'll explore the sheer volume of his live audio stuff, the unique style that makes him sort of a mentor and answer host, and then we'll pivot. We'll look at the long-term performance data from his podcast.
And what this blend of, real-time interaction and consistent sort of evergreen content tells us is pretty crucial, especially for understanding digital engagement and trust today. By the end of this deep dive, you'll definitely gain some practical insights into content strategy, community building, and how data can actually reveal the story behind digital success.
Okay, so let's kick things off by looking at this incredible digital footprint. When we talk about Alberto Daniel Hill at A Daniel Hill on Twitter, we're talking about a significant force, right, in the cybersecurity space. He's based in Montevideo, Uruguay, and he's also the author of that nonfiction book, Login to Hell. He's got, over 47,000 Twitter followers. But the numbers that really jumped out at us are in his live audio activity.
Yeah, what's truly illuminating here is the sheer volume of his engagement on Twitter Spaces. I mean, get this, 1,920 total hosted spaces and 3,198 total participated spaces. This isn't just like casual listening or popping in sometimes. It's a statement. A relentless commitment, really, positioning him as this nonstop, reliable resource. The insight here, I think, is that in these niche fields, consistent high-frequency presence can be a huge differentiator. It signals expertise, availability, builds immense trust.
That level of consistency is, truly remarkable. In just the 30 days before July 16th, 2025, he spoke in 19 spaces. That sounds almost daily.
It basically is. That consistency is really what sets him apart. Our deep dive into his timeline, say from July 8th to July 16th, clearly shows multiple space lanes shared. It suggests a highly frequent, often daily hosting schedule. Like July 9th, 2025, he posted an invite to a space, got over 1,400 views.
Okay.
And on July 8th, he invited listeners to his X spaces, focusing on themes like compromiso e influencia,
which is
commitment and influence. So it shows he's also branching out a bit into personal development alongside the core cyber stuff.
Right, so the volume is undeniable. But volume alone doesn't always build loyalty, does it? What is it about how Alberto engages his style that turns listeners into, devoted followers? How does he build that community?
Well, that brings us right to Alberto's style. It's described as incredibly informative, very interactive, and really centered on sharing knowledge. He often uses a Q&A format, so he's effectively acting as an answer host, providing practical guidance. It's not just talking at people, it's solving problems with them.
And it seems like it's more than just Q&A, too. I saw he's described by users like Aldo Delgado as a mentor and more of a friend. And that user even mentioned a 4-year friendship that started in these spaces. That's incredible, that kind of personal connection that really highlights the power here if you use it authentically.
It absolutely does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, his background as a cybersecurity pro, the author of Login to Hell, that really influences his style. It means he can weave in real-world scenarios, maybe some storytelling, into his teaching.
Makes sense.
His spaces are mostly focused on cybersecurity, hacking, legal stuff. But like we said, also motivational themes. And users like at Erica Wester and at Alu Capital consistently praise them. They call his spaces genuinely gripping.
Gripping, okay. And he's not just doing this solo, right? I saw mentions of collaboration. He's building a network.
Exactly. He's co-hosted 207 spaces. That's a pretty strong indicator of a collaborative approach.
Yeah.
He's actively fostering a community-driven feel. We've seen this with collaborators like at Unix Fidos, at Hacker SoIX, at Billy Big Sacks in that July 9th space, and then at Sia Scottsdale, at Jason Snitker, at Sweet LR1 only in another one from July 8th. This willingness to share the mic, essentially, it amplifies his reach and strengthens the whole network around him.
So what kind of audience does he actually pull in for these live sessions? And how does that translate into overall reach? Because live numbers aren't everything.
Right. While the average live participation seems to be around 48 people, the posts inviting users get much broader reach. Like that July 9th post we mentioned, over 1,400 views. That suggests a dedicated audience. They're drawn by his expertise, his engaging content. They might not always join live, but they're definitely following his activity.
Yeah.
Even, look, a post on July 15th just about him being temporarily removed from someone else's space still got 190 views. Shows consistent audience interest, even in sort of behind-the-scenes stuff.
Okay, interesting. So we've explored the immediate dynamic world of his Twitter spaces. Very active, very community-focused. But Alberto's influence isn't just about live interaction. He's also cultivating this community through long-form, on-demand content. Let's shift gears now to his Cyber Midnight Club podcast.
Right, so this is his Spotify podcast, focuses on hackers, cybersecurity, and cybercrime. And it really demonstrates a significant long-term commitment. They started tracking data way back on December 18, 2018. Well, that's ages ago in digital content terms. Shows real dedication.
Wow, 2018.
Yeah. And beyond those broad categories, the podcast often gets into deep dives on specific cybercrime cases, analysis of new threats, sometimes interviews with other experts. So it's a rich, evolving library of content.
Okay, let's talk numbers then. The podcast performance. What do the key metrics tell us about its success, based on the analysis?
Well, our analysis dug up some really interesting KPIs. The podcast has racked up 12,941 total plays. That's how many times an episode was started.
Okay.
But crucially, it has 7,062 total streams. That indicates genuine, sustained listening beyond just a quick click.
Right, people actually listening through.
Exactly. And this translates to a pretty substantial 209.91 total hours of consumption since it started. Now, follower-wise, it peaked at 708, but the mean, the average, is around 367, 368 followers.
Okay, so those totals are impressive, definitely. But what's a typical daily engagement like?
Yeah, that's a good question. On average, the podcast saw about 5.4 daily plays.
5 a day. Okay.
Which highlights an important reality, I think, for content creators. You know, while the overall totals can look huge, the day-to-day engagement might be more modest. It really underscores the value of a long-term strategy. Consistent output builds that loyal, stable audience over years rather than just chasing viral spikes.
And the analysis also showed a pretty clear correlation between plays and streams, right? Confirming that when an episode gets more plays, it leads to more streams. That seems like a powerful validation of the content itself.
It absolutely is. I mean, it might sound intuitive, more plays, more streams, duh. But for his podcast, seeing that strong correlation is significant. It tells us his topics aren't just getting initial clicks. They're consistently hooking listeners and keeping them engaged. It proves that delivering on your content promise is just as vital as getting people to click in the first place. It's really a testament to the fact that listeners stick around because the content delivers value.
And for you, the listener, why should you care about these metrics? Well, they really illustrate how a long-form, on-demand strategy like Alberto's podcast can build that stable, dedicated community over time. It perfectly complements the immediacy, the real-time interaction of live sessions like Spaces. It's about building both depth and breadth in your engagement. So putting it all together, what does this mean when we look at both his dynamic Twitter Spaces activity and his consistent, long-running podcast?
Well, if we connect the dots here, what emerges is a comprehensive, kind of multi-layered digital engagement strategy. Twitter Spaces offers those real-time, interactive, community-building moments where he's the immediate answer host.
Right, the go-to guy.
Exactly. While the podcast provides that evergreen content, the deeper dives into specialized topics, cybersecurity, hacking, cybercrime, it acts as a long-term resource.
It really shows how critical these online platforms are becoming, especially for getting information out and building real communities within specialized fields like cybersecurity. I mean, the fact that our source material even includes a Twitter and Twitter Spaces for cybersecurity report kind of says it all, doesn't it? This is fundamental now.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And this blended approach allows Alberto to cater to different learning preferences, different engagement styles. He's there for the immediate questions, the live discussions, but he's also building this lasting library of knowledge for people who prefer to learn at their own pace. It really cements his role as an influential figure.
So we've taken a pretty deep dive today into the digital world of Alberto Daniel Hill. We've uncovered how a cybersecurity professional can effectively leverage both dynamic, live interactions on Twitter Spaces and that consistent on demand podcast content. We saw the incredible volume of his hosted spaces, nearly 2,000 live conversations, his unique Alberto style as this informative mentor, collaborator, and the steady long term engagement his Cyber Midnight Club podcast has built up, evidenced by what, over 12,900 total plays and nearly 210 hours of consumed content. Pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, and considering this detailed look at digital influence in community building,
Yeah.
what it really makes us wonder, and maybe makes you wonder, is this. What kind of digital footprint are you creating? How effectively are you using the platforms available to share knowledge, build your own community, or just engage with topics you care about? The path Alberto Daniel Hill has carved out really offers a powerful roadmap, I think, for anyone looking to make a lasting impact online.